Hello, everybody. Hey, Dina. Hey, Juana. I'm so glad you could join me for our Fri-Yay ParTay. I know there's a little bit of a delay. I really hate that, but I'm so glad to be here with you. So I guess I'm just going to take some water until I see that you all can respond and that you can hear me. So, first of all, while I'm waiting for that, y'all, sorry you get the no lipstick or makeup look. Not that I always wear it, but putting together a bookcase that you thought was going to take 30 minutes that ended up taking like 3 hours. Maybe I should have just called for help, because why don't the bookcases and furniture come with written instructions? You got to look at the pictures and you got to turn it around and you got to figure it all out. But either way, let's get into it so you don't have to look at this today. We are going to be working on vocab, because it occurred to me, I saw somebody talk about the fact that, hey, Candace, the fact that vocab, there's just so much vocab. There's just so much vocab. And it's all about putting it together. So, yeah, here we go. So I made this vocab list, and what I did is I broke the vocabulary down by topic. By topic. So I was going to choose a topic. I was going to choose, I think I did contracts last time. So let's talk about maybe like transfer of title. All right. So I'm just going to scroll down to transfer of real property, transfer of title. Now, what I did to make this list was to go in and say, I found all the books I could. I used ChatGPT and I said, look, let me go in and just have a list of anything that will be found in this like section of studying. So I can't guarantee it's 100% accurate, but I can guarantee that, hey, Tamika, I can guarantee that at least I have all the major concepts. And sometimes I like to take a look at this list and go, okay, well, how do these things connect? Now, if you all see anything on this list that you're like, Candace, I don't know what that is, let me know. But I'm just going to kind of go over some contract vocab unless somebody had something in particular you wanted to go with. So, transfer of title. I could not do this section without talking about alienation. Alienation is basically a fancy word for transferring. Alienation is a fancy word for transferring. And when you're studying, one of the things I would highly encourage you to do is say, okay, well, how do I see alienation? Like, how have I seen questions? What topics have I seen that have to do with alienation? Well, in this chapter, talking about the transfer of title, we could have, and I'll just go here, we could have voluntary alienation, and we could have involuntary. And then I would encourage you, like if I'm studying, in fact, I'm studying for this exam too. I would go, okay, what would be an example of voluntary alienation? Oh, deeds. A deed. I can check that off. I know that there are deeds because I'm choosing, it's voluntary, to give a property interest to somebody else. That is the definition of a deed. I know what voluntary alienation is. Then I can say, well, involuntary alienation is when I don't have any control over where it goes. Hey, Antonio, I don't have any control of where it would go. So I'm thinking about, you know what? Eminent domain. Eminent domain, which, hey, look, there's that word. Eminent domain is the government's power to take your land as long as it's for the good of the public, but they have to pay you fair market value, and we know the actual action of that is condemnation. So if we're talking about, again, involuntary alienation, one example of that would be eminent domain. One of the four powers of government: police, power, eminent domain, taxation, and escheat. The power is eminent domain. The action is condemnation, right? You like this? It's a smart way to study, not just learn and memorize. Good, Dina, good. That's what I want. And I know I said it in the webinar earlier. This is all, hey, Nature Manly. This is all about making these vocab words and concepts pieces of a puzzle. We want to put it together for real estate, not just for the exam, but for when you get out there in real life. Because this would be like learning how to cook, but nobody ever teaches you what the different ingredients are. You put the ingredients together to make a meal to eat. You take all these little pieces of knowledge and you put them together so you can help people buy, sell, lease, whatever it is in real estate, right? So another type of involuntary alienation could be adverse possession. Well, we know adverse possession is when somebody meets ocean, right? Somebody meets the requirements of ocean. That means, oh, and I don't have enough space for it, so let me scroll to our list. Adverse possession is what I'm talking about, not eminent domain. Adverse possession. Here we go. Adverse possession. We know our use has to be open, and the use that open and notorious are kind of saying the same things. These are kind of connected. We're saying, look, I didn't try to hide it. What I'm doing is using it. You know I'm using it. Everybody knows I'm using it. The UPS and Amazon man knows I'm using it. Like, my use is open. I'm not just going at night with night goggles and being like, oh yeah, I'm using it. The use has to be continuous, and this, how long it has to be, it can vary. It can vary from state to state. So I know in North Carolina, where I've originally started teaching, I know that it has to be, it's broken down to whether it's government land or individual land. Now that I'm studying for a different state, Michigan, I've got to go through and say, okay, Candace, it's time to learn how many years does somebody have to use the property in order to make a claim for adverse possession. Right? So it has to be open, continuous, exclusive. We don't really care about that one. Adverse is the one we care about. You never had permission. You never had permission. You will never be able to make a real claim for adverse possession if you were renting. Oh, and Dina, you said it's 5 years in California. Awesome. Nice to know. Nice to know, 5 years in California. But all that is to say, if you want to make a claim for adverse possession, you have to make sure that you can prove that the use is open, continuous, exclusive, adverse, and notorious. Remember, I gave this as an example of involuntary alienation. Adverse possession, eminent domain, right? We talked about voluntary alienation, which would be deeding it, or you know what else? When you will it to somebody. When you will it, you're choosing to give it to somebody else. But of course, willing it happens when you're dead, and deeding it happens when you're alive. So it all kind of focuses together, right? I would highly encourage you all to study this way. Like, really. And if you're more of a visual person, you can draw it out, because we call that, there's a name for that. It's called sketchnoting. Or if you all are sitting here listening and you have a question about something, oh, look, we talked about wills. We have a question about something, then just ask. And I can kind of break it down and relate it. Because if you can relate it to stuff you already know, you are more likely to remember it. Ta-da! All right. Now let's go back to this word deed, because you and I both know you are going to be asked about deeds. So what is a deed? Well, it relates to this whole alienation thing, right? A deed is an instrument that transfers title. You are very visual. All right, Tamika. So you're very visual. So let's talk about how I would visually study deeds, right? If I was doing sketchnoting, I would say, okay, well, I know a deed transfers title. And then, off an offshoot, I'd be like, oh, that's alienation. Now, side note, let's erase this because you don't need this. If I was going in a different direction, I could also say, hey, alienation, there's an alienation clause. And that has to do with promissory notes. And promissory notes have to do with borrowing money, which has to do with finance. But if I'm talking about financing, then I know there's also going to be like a collateral document. Collateral. I can spell. And that could either be a mortgage or a deed of trust. So I know I just kind of went off on a tangent there, but do you see how everything's connected? I could have gone off with this alienation thing, but I'm not going to. All right. So what I would do is I would come back here to deeds, and I know deeds have there's like different types of deeds. And when I think of deeds, I think of the three major ones. Now, there might be some little offshoot ones, other types of deeds, but there are three major types of deeds that I know I'm going to be tested on. You could always do this. This is also known as like a mind mapping, right? So some people might use little circles or whatnot, but either way. Hey, Valerie, boom, shakalaka laka, boom. How you doing? So we know there are three types of like deeds you're going to be tested on. You're going to be tested on the general warranty deed. You're going to be tested on the special warranty deed. You're going to be tested on the quitclaim deed. Now, are there other types of deeds that you learned about? Yeah, there is a deed of trust. It's a type of deed. In fact, hey, that related up here to mortgages. We've got sheriff's deeds if it's been foreclosed upon. We've got deeds of gift. I mean, there's so many different kinds of deeds, right? So many different types of deeds. There's grant deeds. And I mean, I'm not going to keep going, but there's offshoots there. But I know if I were to look back at my studying that this one, and this one is huge. Now, a deed of trust is huge in the finance world, but when it comes to just deeds in general, I know I'm going to have to know the difference between these. And just as a good review, just like a basic review, we know general warranty deed is the strongest. Special warranty deed is the next strongest. So it's a step down because this has to do with time. It's the seller saying, hey, I am not promising that somebody before me didn't mess it up. I'm promising that I didn't mess it up. Oh, a deed of gift. It's just a deed that you give when you're gifting it to somebody. So remember, and again, I always want to say that things vary. Some states use a deed of gift. Some states just have, okay, just leave a regular deed. It's just something you might have heard of. It is a real thing. I mean, there's so many different types of deeds, right? And then you could name a type of deed that maybe I didn't put here, but I know every single one of y'all is going to have this one, and this one. Does that make sense? So a deed of gift is just saying, hey, I'm gifting it to you, right? All right. So we know that the special warranty is about time. The seller is saying, you know what, in both cases, I own it. Okay, that's just terrible. They are always saying, hey, look, I own it, which is the right of season, that covenant of season. They have the right to sell it or transfer. They promise to make things better. Promise to fix it if something's wrong. And they promise to, what am I missing? Oh, there's no negative encumbrances. I don't want to ask Siri anything. Right? So both of these have all this. Right? Versus the quitclaim deed, you may not even own it. There's no promises. You're only saying, I'm no longer an interested party. So when would you see a quitclaim deed? You know what? To remove a mechanic's lien. Does that make sense? Does this help you all? Like, I want to make sure, yes, we can do questions. Yes, I can do math. But I want to make sure everybody's understanding how all of this goes together. So do we like it when I go over vocab? You just let me know, because I'm going to do this either way. You all tell me what you enjoy, and then that's what I'll do. And so I didn't have a plan for today, so I figured we do this. So either way, we talked about deeds. We talked about general warranty deeds, special warranty deeds, quitclaim deeds. And then we talked about all sorts of stuff. And if I'm talking about deeds, I could come all the way over here and I could say, what are the essential elements of a deed? And what are the non-essential elements of a deed? Okay, good. You like it? Good, 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 good. A couple that may be divorced or one can't, other can't. Yeah, a quitclaim deed, that would be, yeah. If you're getting divorced, that's not bad either. So let's go back here. What are our essential elements of a deed? I like to say, I get paid with every deal. The I means it has to be in writing. The G means the grantor must be competent. The paid must means there has to be a property description. A legal description, right? It has to be words of conveyance. It has to be executed, which means signed by the grantor. And it needs to be delivered and accepted. So sometimes, this all, goes over here, and I'll choose a different color for this. Not essential, I'll do in green. So sometimes when we're doing questions together, I'll have an answer, like maybe the question was something like, which of the following is not a requirement of a deed, right? And so maybe they'll say this one, they'll give you this one, they'll give you this one. So maybe this is answer A, this is answer B, this is answer C, and answer D might have been notarized, which we know is acknowledgement. It doesn't have to be acknowledged. When you get a practice question like that, Even if you know this is the right answer. Yay, this is the right answer. You've now reviewed, the delivered and accepted. You've reviewed words of conveyance. You've reviewed property description. But what I want you to go in is, whether it's a piece of paper or you're talking to yourself, hey, can I physically come up with, off the top of my head, in writing, the grantor must be competent. It has to be executed. Right? Because you don't know which ones they're going to ask you about. On the test, they could ask you about these and not A, B, and C. So you want to make sure you're doing a complete study. Hey, Tricks. Hey, I see you. So do a complete study. I get paid with every deal is our essential elements of a deed. Can anybody, and I know there's a little bit of a delay, can anybody tell me what makes up the non-essential elements of a deed? So I like to do this one with a diva. So we'll put this in pink. Yes, I know I use a lot of pink and green, but can't help it if it's the best sorority colors ever. A diva can shop with riches. A diva can shop with riches. So can anybody tell me what A is, what the D is, what the C is, what the S is, the W, and the R? And I'm going to take another sip while you all are thinking. Can anybody tell me what is the A, the D, the C, the S, the W, or the R? Remember, these things are the non-essential. So what I'm saying is, if you were writing a deed and you wanted to give somebody a property, as long as you're writing the deed for your property, you can practice law for yourself. That's not against the law. Not at all. What you can't do is write a deed for somebody else. All right, Dina. Let's see. Dina's got acknowledgement. We love that. Move this down here. Acknowledgement means it doesn't have to be notarized, right? It doesn't have to be dated. It doesn't have to be dated because in most states, if there's a question about who owns it, there's two different deeds, the date doesn't matter. What matters is who has possession and or who has recorded. Is it a good idea to have it dated? Absolutely. Do you have to? Nope, you don't have to. The C is for consideration. Consideration is the thing of value that's exchanged. Now, a lot of times that's money, but maybe it's tickets to a tennis match or something. I don't know. Maybe it's, I'm going to cook for you. It's the thing of value that's being exchanged. The S is for sealed. Now, when we say sealed, what we mean is there doesn't have to be an extra legal guarantee that this is happening. Is a deed probably going to be sealed? Yeah. But does it have to be? No. It doesn't have to be witnessed. You know, wills have to be witnessed. You get married, that has to be witnessed. But it doesn't have to be witnessed. And it doesn't have to be recorded. Doesn't have to be recorded, but I would highly suggest you do that. Why? Because if I'm shady and I give you a deed, well then I could also give somebody else the deed. He or she who records first and takes possession, you get the protection of the law. So why would you not want to record it? That doesn't make any sense to me. You should record it. But do you have to? No. You don't have to. You don't have to, and I said this the other day, you don't have to brush your teeth in the morning. I would really hope that you choose to. The rest of us would appreciate it, but you don't have to. Now, I will say, if you do record it, then it is going to have to be notarized or acknowledged. And then it does have to be notarized and acknowledged. So there you go. Look at that. Look at all that we just went over. And all of that came from talking about deeds. Deeds. Right? And look, we went over some other words. We just went over acknowledgement. Ooh, we could add bargain and sale deed. That's another type of deed if I wanted to. When you learn new words, especially if you have an iPad, you could come in and be like, oh yeah, I forgot bargain and sale deed. All right? You don't think you use pen and paper during the test? That would help so much to write out the acronyms. You know, every test is different. I know a lot of places will allow somebody to have a scrap piece of paper and a pencil, but not every state. So just check with your state. Check with your state. But see how we added the bargain and sale here? We can go back to this. So if we ever want to review, we can. All right, what else did we go over with that? We talked about, I mentioned covenants. I kind of mentioned covenants when I said, hey, you have the covenant of season, right? The covenant of season, which, hey, if there's a word that you don't see here, you would write it. Covenant of season. Or it could be spelled Seizen. So, hey, look, we covered that. We talked about a legal description just a little bit. We talked about special warranty deed. We talked about general warranty deed. We talked about quit claim deeds. Look at that. We're marking stuff off the list. Right? So when you're studying, again, I'm hoping this is showing you, A, is showing you how I do it. I literally study this way. And B, I'm putting the pieces together. Can I shrink and take a screenshot of this one? Did you need a screenshot of this one, or did you want a screenshot of the other one? All right, and just let me know, Valerie. I know it's there. And descent. Dina, you asked me about descent. When you die, there are rules about where your stuff goes. There are laws or acts that talk about who are your heirs. Those are the laws of descent. Who is your property going to succeed to? So when you die, if you die intestate, hey, that's one of our words. It should be. If you died intestate, and we know intestate means with no will, the laws of descent would kick in and tell you who your heirs are. Of the other one, yep, I can do that. I can do that. Boop. Let's see here. Unlock. Ooh, that gets pretty. You have to blow. Let's see. Can I blow that up? It's pretty. That's hard. Here, let me erase this, and maybe I can blow it up a little bigger. Try that. And then you can just zoom in. All right. Now, I love the fact that somebody asked me about one of these. Is there anything else on here that you're like, hey, I don't know how this goes? Oh, look, we talked about words of conveyance. We know a warranty deed is the same as a general warranty deed. Those are ours. You just can't tell. Right, so is there, we talked about recording. Now, if I talk about recording, we know recording is to give, notice. What type of notice? Constructive notice. Actual notice is when you tell somebody something. Constructive notice is you basically are doing something that makes it seem like you're telling the world. All right? So, yay. Anything else on here that I need to, I could talk about a lot of these things, but is there anything on here? Oh, we got to talk about the statute of frauds. We cannot study this and not talk about the fact in writing. The statute of frauds says certain documents, including anything that transfers an interest in real estate, must be in writing. Ooh, a party wall easement. That's a good one. Does anybody know what a party wall easement? Oh, that's the wrong one. Dude. What when I talk about party walls, it's considered an easement, but we're talking about party walls. Can anybody tell me where you would find a party wall? Party wall, party wall. I mean, it is a Fri-Yay ParTay, but let me help you. So this is, let's say the answer to a question was party wall easement. You know what? I'm going to try this so that you could take a picture a little differently. Boom. So we're talking about party wall easements. Party wall easements. So we know a party wall has to do with townhomes. If you have two houses next to each other, it's this shared wall right there. It's a townhome. It's the shared wall, and it's considered an easement because you have to share either side the space there. So a townhome, this is a party wall easement right there, right there. Right? Now we could go off and do a lot of things. We could say, oh, we know an easement is a type of encumbrance. We know an easement is a type of encumbrance. You know what else is an easement? An encumbrance, we got liens. We have encroachments. Again, I want you to do this for yourself as well. We know there's easements, there's also different types of easements. You talk about the party wall easement. We could talk about party wall easement. But what's the word I'm thinking of? Why can I not think of it? Oh, it is something that runs appurtenant. We got appurtenant easements. We got easements in gross or gross easements. And we know there's two types of easements in gross. They're personal easements in gross, and then there are like utilities. It's another name for that, personal easements in gross, and then there's a commercial. That's called a commercial easement in gross. Does that make sense? Right? So you can always come in and do this. You can always come in and say, hey, yeah, I see you, appurtenant. Always come in and go there. And then I could say, oh, well, townhome versus, it could be versus condos. Or it could be versus a co-op. Right? That's the goal, to make sure it all makes sense. So I can continue doing this because I want to figure out a rhythm for us, guys. I want to figure out what helps you the best. I could go over questions. I can do math. I can do vocab. It's all about whatever you would like. What helps you the most when I'm going live? Because I want to figure that out, especially since I can't really talk to you one-on-one. I was thinking about maybe what I could do is every week pick a topic. So I went over, what do you call this? Vocab today, but maybe I teach it to you as if I was in a classroom. I don't know. This is less about me and more about what you all want, what helps you the most. So you tell me when I'm doing, hey, Amani, when I'm doing this, what do you feel is most helpful? The statute has to be in writing or the deed. Oh, Amani, I didn't see that. The statute of fraud means the deed has to be in writing. If it's a transfer of interest in real estate, it has to be in writing. All of it helps. All of it helps. Okay, but what about everybody else? What we doing to do without you, Kendra? You're not gonna lose me. I'll still do Fridays because this is my YouTube channel. I'll still do Wednesdays. I'll come on live. I'll still do tutoring sessions. You just will find it through me and the YouTube page. You're not losing me. You just don't have me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at the same time, right? You like this? I like this over questions, but chat. Okay. Wait, no. Can't. No? I'm not quite sure. You like to ask questions? Well, ask away. Ask away. When you all ask me questions, I feel like it's more beneficial because I don't know what you know. I want to know what you need to know. All right? Let's pick, while I'm thinking about this, see if there's anything else I could talk about here. I mean, I could talk about all of it, but, let's talk about title insurance. Title insurance. Remember, title insurance is what the buyer gets. Well, it's covering the new owner. Now, who pays for it is going to depend on the state. But title insurance covers the new owner. It's an insurance policy. Now, there's usually going to be a lender policy as well. But it's a policy that covers, and the really big thing you want to remember here is, let's go back to 100%. The really big thing that you want to remember is that title insurance only covers the purchase price. Title insurance only covers the purchase price. So when you buy title insurance, whether it's a seller paying for it or the buyer paying for it, it covers the new owner. And so if I bought a house for $350,000, I bought this in, let's say, 2009 for $350,000. It's now 2025. This house could be worth $600,000. But if I lose title in 2025, they're only going to pay me the $350,000 I paid for it. Right? Right? You like the checklist? Good. Okay, I'm glad you like the checklist. I'm glad you did. All right, Candace 225. Yep. So, that is something I would tell you to know about insurance. I would tell you want to know who pays for your state. Remember, you want to know that there's two policies. One for the lender, one for the new owner. But eventually, when you pay off your loan, the lender's policy goes away and it's just you. And you pay in full at closing. Now, there are words that are associated with title insurance that you know you've been tested on, like chain of title or abstract of title. All right, a title abstract. Can anybody tell me the difference between chain of title and a title abstract? Can anybody tell me the difference between chain of title and title abstract? I'm actually going to wait for this one because I think it's a good one to remember. What's the difference between chain of title and title abstract or abstract of title? Do. I know that's the song I sing while I'm waiting to see. And if you don't know, that's cool too. If you don't know, that's cool too. You just have to tell me you don't know so I can explain it. All right, I'll give you 5, 4, 3. Ooh, okay, here we go. Amani said, chain of title is pulling the history of title and who has passed it on. Yes. Yes, Amani. Yay. The chain of title is when you find out. It always reminds me of that line in the Bible when XY begat, LM who begat, Z who begat. Y'all remember that part of the Bible? It's about, it was this owner and that owner, then this owner, then that owner, then this owner. Whereas the abstract is like a summary. It's got anything and everything that has to do with the title. Like if there was a lien, but then the lien was removed, right? So yes, the chain is a history of owners. Yes, y'all are geniuses. Y'all are geniuses. Love it. But yeah, that's what I would know about title insurance. Let's see what else we got on our list. Oh, we just talked about a title exam, which is like a title search. We talked about chain of title. All right. Anything else on here that you want to talk about? Yes, very loud. Anything else here that we need to go over? We did abstract of title. My bad. I mean, we hit most of these words, y'all. We hit most of these words. I love it. Oh, we hit a sheet because we talked about a sheet. If you die without a will and no heirs, then the property goes to the government. That was part of Pete. Police power, eminent domain, taxation, and a sheet. Love that. Now, are we all good with grantee, grantor? This is not what I wanted. Boom. We know grantee and grantor are going to be, they're going to use these fancy words. So we know that grantor is the person giving title. They're granting title. We know the grantee is the person receiving title, right? And when you have title, you have legal title. When you own it, you have legal title. But if you live in a state that is a title theory state, you used that deed of trust or that trust deed. That trust deed or that deed of trust to give legal title to the bank. And then what you get is equitable title. Boom. Equitable title. Oh, you were trying to say earlier you love doing this and the ChatGPT questions are cool too. Good. And Amani, so what's the difference between the summary and what does the summary include? So the summary is everything. How do I, let's see. So the chain of title will be person A gave it to person B, and person B gave it to person C and D, and C and D gave it to person E, and E gave it to person F, and then F gave it to person G. This is just about how the title transfers. If it was a summary or the abstract of title abstract, then we'd know, oh, there was a lien here, and then it was a quit claim deed here to get rid of that lien. Oh, and here comes another lien. So, or now here's a lawsuit or maybe a judgment lien. See what I'm saying? Like the summary or the abstract is going to have all of those details. All of those details. Right? And this is why you hire either a title company or a attorney to do a title search. It all ties together. That's what I really, really, really want people to understand. There's no, I'm going to say there's no surprises, because there could be surprises, but it really does all tie together. I'm not sure if you all saw, but on my YouTube page, go back here, there are some sessions of me going, recording a group tutoring session. And one of the things I did was a vocab comparison. And I have like, how big is this? Unlock. It looks like I have 76 words here. But what I did on this, what I did in those videos, is I said, okay, somebody chose 76. There's a right of redemption, and then there's littoral rights. First, define this, then define this, and then you ask, how are they connected? How are they connected in the transaction? So what do I mean by that? So the right of redemption is, and I'm just going to give you an idea. A right of redemption is when you're being foreclosed, you have the right, the person who borrowed the money, if they can come up with the missing money, they can actually say, hey, you know what? I want to stop this. I have your money. And we know there's two rights of redemption. There's the equitable right of redemption, which, hey, before they sell it at foreclosure, you can stop the sale. Equitable right of redemption. There's the statutory right of redemption, because in some states, even though there was an auction, there's a time period where the original owner can be like, just kidding, I just won the lottery last night. I'm good. I want to make things right. So that's your right of redemption, which has to do with foreclosure. And you go into foreclosure if you default on your promissory note, and if you had a promissory note, then that means there was a sale or transfer of property. And when that property was transferred, the property was transferred, but with it came your appurtenances. And one of your appurtenances is your lateral right to support. Boom. Our lateral right of support. And so if you're wondering what that is, we know lateral means side by side, right? We know lateral side. So let's say this is piece A and this is piece of land B. And let's pretend like this land has sand. This is sand. I know, I'm an artist of the highest creation. I mean, my art levels are just so impressive. Well, have you ever sent a kid that was getting on your nerves? Sent a kid, you're like, look, kid, ooh, that's huge. Let's make that smaller. You're like, look here, kid. You're getting on my nerves. That's still too big. I want you to go dig to China. Now, I think most of you all know that you're not going to get to China this way. But either way, what would happen is all this dirt, all of this sand that the kid got rid of, now that it's gone, what happens? Well, this dirt is going to fall into what's going on, pencil? Stop it. This dirt is going to fall in, oh, I see why. Boop, boom. because this dirt is going to fall into that hole. You have the right to lateral support, side support. If this person keeps digging, all of this land is going to eventually fall over there. You have the right to lateral support. There you go. And how did all this start? Y'all, I wanted to know how right of redemption and lateral rights connected. So somebody else choose a number. Let me erase that. Somebody choose a number 1 through 75. And I know it'll be a second. So while we're waiting, I'm just going to erase all. I'll leave it. But somebody choose a random number 1 through 75, and I'll do that. I will connect those two things. Here I come to save the day. There's always a song in my head. Y'all, I really wish you could see my bookcase. I mean, it took a number of hours, but I did it all by myself. I don't need no man. I got it. I mean, I would have used a man to do it if there was one handy. I got to start putting my house together. I've been here for a couple months now. Anybody 1 through 75? 1 through 75. Okay, we got number 52. 52. 52. Where's 52? This goes to 50. We go up here to 52. Ooh, APR and ECOA. All right. APR and ECOA. Let's do another thing. Let's do APR and ECOA. Well, APR stands for annual percentage rate. And we talk about this when we talk about TILA, which is the Truth in Lending Act. The Truth and Lending Act, right? It's okay, Stefan. I'll probably go a little bit longer. The Truth in Lending Act is the act that says lenders, not just mortgage bankers, lenders have to be honest about the fees that especially the hidden fees when you're borrowing money. So when you borrow money from a bank, they might say, oh, it's an 8% interest rate. But that's just interest. What about all the other fees like the origination fee or the discount points or, other things like that? The APR includes everything. It's the real cost, the total cost of doing business with that bank. Versus ECOA, the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. The ECOA, the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. And we know that has to do with credit. You cannot discriminate against certain classes when it comes to credit. So we know this could be age. You can't tell somebody they're too old. You can't base it off of where they get their income. You've got the basics like sex and you've got what else? Religion, color, race, all of those. You can't. And both of these are laws about lending. Laws about lending. All right? Yes, APR. Okay, so Amani, here's what I would have you do. If you get to something, you're like, oh man, I didn't know APR included all that. What I would tell you to do is then this is where you use Google or you use ChatGPT. I don't know what that is. So let's go to, is ChatGPT in here? Lord only knows what I got open. And I'll say something like, what costs are included in APR, and then I might put real estate exam. Right? And then hopefully you'll get something like this. The fees included in APR are the origination fees, the discount points, mortgage insurance, closing costs, other lending fees. And that's where you take all this information and you add it to your chart. You add it to your chart. Because eventually, I think this whole class could be made into one huge map. Because eventually I could be like, oh, discrimination. Now I'm getting into the fair housing laws. And I could branch off and I could do so much with fair housing laws too. It is all connected. Google knows everything, you know? When talking about TRID, is that always the best answer when they say who governs LE and the C? Okay, so yes, that's a great question. Right? They can go, okay, so let's say this. Stefan, you asked if they could only go off of their credit history. No, they can look at what much money you make and things like that. That's fine. But they can't make it based off of protected loans, make decisions based off the protected classes. Then, Valerie, remember there's two laws you got going on here. Let's do this. You got, TRID stands for Truth in Lending. You know I can't write. TILA, which is Truth in Lending. RESPA, Integrated Disclosures. So TILA requires a piece of paper that is, at first, when you first apply, that estimates costs. And then when you close, it's got to be a review of costs. And then RESPA requires a piece of paper when you first apply that estimates costs. And they also, when you close, have to review the cost. Now, here's the thing. TILA has other things. RESPA has other things. But these things they have in common. So instead of having 19 pieces of paper, let's do this. These two things are in common. So maybe RESPA was 8 pieces of paper, and maybe TILA was 9 pieces. Well, 8 plus 9 is 17. That's 17 pieces of paper that are duplicate. And what TRID says is we're going to integrate these disclosures. Let's use some paperwork that's a total of 7 pages that satisfies both of these. So Truth in Lending already existed. RESPA already existed, but they had some requirements the same. And to save paperwork, they said, hey, let's use a LE, the loan estimate, and then a CD. That makes sense? Is TRID the umbrella of all of them? Actually, no. And I don't like that pen. Boom. What happened was you had something called, oh, you know what? I think I have a better way to show this to you. The Dodd-Frank Act. And so what the Dodd-Frank Act did is there's TILA, there's a RESPA, there's the Interstate Land Sales Full Disclosure Act. There's all these other acts. that all related. The Dodd-Frank Act kind of pulled them in-house and most importantly created the CFPB, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. So the Dodd-Frank Act covers TILA and RESPA, and then off of that, this branches TRID. Whoop. Boom. So, I know, crazy town it is. I love being able to answer questions. I really do. Because I don't know what you all don't know. I don't know where you're... I mean, it all kind of makes sense to me, but I understand why it gets hazy and complicated to you. I wish there was a way to get faster answers and responses. I wish there wasn't a delay. Anything else? I got to go eat some lunch. Is there anything else? Now, remember, I'll be back next Wednesday on my YouTube, and that's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then I'll be here Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So next week, you can catch me both of those times right here on YouTube. And I think that's it. I'm going to give it another minute of, you might hear some silence, or I'm going to take some water while I wait. If there's anything else you want me to go over, I don't mind. Oh, Interstate Land Sales Full Disclosure Act. This is a federal law. A federal law that says, look, if you're selling what? Land. If you're selling land across, that's not how you spell cross. Across state lines, you've got to disclose information to HUD so that you're not tricking people. You can't sell people pieces of land in Florida talking about, oh, you'll totally be able to build your house here, and it's in the middle of a marsh in the Everglades. Absolutely not. Can I explain the difference between void and voidable? You got my email, great. So void, Stefan, I'm going to try to do this in a short manner. Void means, as it stands, means there's no effect whatsoever. There's no legal power behind it. So somebody thinks they have a contract, but when you look at it, you're like, dude, it doesn't have either mutual agreement, consideration, legal capacity, or lawful objective. It's missing one of these. So it has no legal power behind it. Voidable means it looks like it has all four of those, but when you look closer, something's missing. So take fraud, fraud or, you know what's a better one? Fraud or duress. To sign something under duress means I held a gun to your head. So if I held a gun to your head, Stefan, and I was like, sign this where you're giving me your property for $5. You've got a gun to your head. Clearly, you're going to sign it. It looks like it had mutual agreement. It looks like it has consideration. It looks like it has legal objective. And it looks like it has legal capacity. It looks like it, but really, you only signed because there was a gun to your head. You didn't really mutually agree. I should actually go like this. There wasn't mutual agreement. So you would ask a judge to void. Ask a judge to take this contract from voidable and make it void. Void means it has no legal power. A voidable contract is valid, and then it's made void because something is missing. Does that help? I hope so. All right, guys, I'm going to go grab some food. I'm thinking maybe in August I'll do 3 nights. So, oh, good, Valerie, you got my email. I might do so voidable covers, fraud, misrepresentation, and minor. Yes, Valerie, absolutely, absolutely. So I'm thinking I might do another night, another evening. So just keep that in mind. And also, guys, come with questions. Come with questions. So, how is a 17-year-old voidable and not void? Stefan, are you in California? Are you in California? Do. I know it sounds weird, but I'm going to go with because I say so. Because in California, 17-year-old or younger, so if it's less than 18 or whatever, then it would be void. In other states, they say it is voidable. And that would be, that's for the state. That's a law question. And I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because it's law. So I'm going to go with that one because we said so. Unless you're in California, if somebody was 17, it'd be void. For everybody else, it's voidable. Because we said so, because we're not attorneys. You're in Kentucky, there you go. All right, guys, I really am going to go eat. I am going to see you all if you're part of, Prep Agent. I'll see you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday during the day. If not, then I'll see you Wednesday nights and Fridays. Bye, everybody. Have a good one. And if you need me, oh, no problem, Tamika. If you need me, just reach out. You know my email address is CandiceEllis@gmail. And you can go ahead and send in questions that I'll cover during these. All right, bye.